Hi, it's Doug from Rise Above Performance Training. Today I'm going to do a video to supplement my article entitled 3 Mistakes I See Athletes Make with Their Training Program. So these are the most common things I see when I get an athlete coming to my gym and wanting to train here. The first one is the programming in general. So I usually ask an athlete what they've been doing before they came to see me. A lot of times I was doing a split routine, so more like a bodybuilding type routine, which is a 2 body part split. They'll do something like back and chest day on Monday, abs and legs on Tuesday, back and biceps on Wednesday. So you get the point. Just down the road, 5 days a week, they're doing 2 different body parts. So which means probably 3 or 4 exercises of that same body part. There's a big problem with this. It's great to get bigger and kind of stronger doing this, but it kind of takes away from your sport. So you're usually, even in the off season, you're going to be practicing your sport. Maybe it's not as much as you were doing in season or prior to the season, but you're practicing maybe 1 day a week of your sport or 2 days a week just working your skills, and you got 5 days a week doing the body part training. It's going to detract from that sport. You're going to get sore because it's so much volume within that training program that you're not going to be able to get better at your sport as well. The whole point of weightlifting or strength and conditioning is to not necessarily get as good as you can at that, it's to help your sport out. So the weightlifting or the training is the means, and getting better at your sport is the end. So how I would set it up differently is you want to find the points you're weak at and build a program around that. I would say weightlifting in the off season, maybe 3 days a week, and then you can practice your sport maybe 2 days a week, and then it starts to shift over when you get closer to season. You want to train, they're your big movements, obviously, so maybe Monday you'll have a big movement, let's say the bench press. You can throw some push-ups in there too, but also you want to do some leg work to kind of balance things out, maybe some lunges or things like that. Nothing too heavy, because when you come back on a Wednesday, you're probably going to do deadlifts or squats, that big movement. You can add some dumbbell chest press, but you're kind of working that whole body. The third thing I like to add personally is adding some type of conditioning component to it, and I think a lot of athletes miss that. So when you're doing your body part splits, you're not going to have conditioning at the end. So usually you're not going to add kettlebell swings or jump rope or even tire flips or sled pushing. So conditioning circuits, and I've talked about this a lot in my other videos and articles, is basically adding 3 to 4 exercises, putting yourself on a timer, and then running through those exercises to build up your endurance, your strength endurance. So let's say it's sled pushes, jump rope, kettlebell swings, push-ups, anything that's not too difficult to perform, like power cleans might be too difficult to replicate over and over again. So we're going to pick kind of low-level exercises to build up that conditioning. That way, when you take that new conditioning and the strength component of it, when you go to your sports and you practice your skills, you're able to harness all that strength and conditioning to make you a better player out on the field. The second area I see that lacks within an athlete's training program is just technical lifting ability. And it's not bad necessarily what they do, but they just don't get as much out of what they can with the exercises that they do. And it's really prevalent in certain exercises. And the one I'm going to show you, it's very prevalent. And I just kind of demonstrate this or talk about this as lifting in 2 directions. And what I mean by that, I see a lot of athletes, let's say a dumbbell chest press, which I'll demonstrate here. They'll have the dumbbells up. I'm going to just do it. So I'm going to have the dumbbells up overhead, and then the eccentric portion, or the downward portion, the weights are just going to free fall. So I'm going to have my weight up here, I'm going to have my setup, and then what I'm going to do is, I see a lot of athletes just pretty much drop them down. They don't have any tension here left, and then they got to dig them out of the hole, I call it, or just concentrically use a lot of strength to push it up. So they drop, and then they push up. So there's a couple things that I don't like about it. One, safety issue. You keep dropping, you're going to put a lot of shearing force on that shoulder, you can injure your shoulder, especially when you start moving up in weight. Number 2 is you're really not utilizing as much as you can out of the movement. So pushing up is going to be primarily chest and the muscles of the front, the deltoids and the triceps. But you also want to use your back. So the back is a good way to train, the dumbbell chest press is a good way to train the back by pulling down and squeezing up. So the way it's going to look, I'll have the weights up again. Now instead of just simply free falling the weights down, I'm going to literally pull with my back. So I tell my athletes a lot, you want to compress the spring. So if I drop down, I'm not really compressing the spring. I'm literally compressing this big heavy spring nice and slow, and your muscles will react like a spring. When I feel a stretch, I squeeze up. and I'm able to get that spring-like effect and create power in the concentric motion. So pulling down and squeezing up. So it doesn't just apply to the chest press, it can apply to squats, deadlifts obviously not, but also things like rows, not just letting the dumbbell drop. You want to control down. You're not going to get as much of a spring effect, but you don't want it to keep jerking on the shoulder. You want to control down and eccentrically handle the weight and squeezing back up. The third mistake I see athletes making within their training program is doing unilateral exercises but not offloading them, and I'll talk about that in a second. First of all, if you're doing unilateral exercise, which means single-sided things like lunges, step-ups, great job. Do that because most sports you're not going to be using the legs the same way. One side could be stronger, one side could be more stable. You want to balance it out as much as you can, especially within the off season, so you don't gain injuries, and also you can build up your strength so you have a better season. But I like to take it a step further once the athlete gets really proficient at them. So let's say we're doing a lunge. The basic lunge is just going to be maybe 2 dumbbells, and I'll just do a reverse lunge or a step back lunge. I'll step back, drop down, and drive up and stay on that leg. What I like to do once my athletes get a little bit better is to use an offloading way of doing it, which is one weight. So you can use this with the dumbbell. I like to use it with kettlebells, but we'll just demonstrate with the dumbbell. And I'm going to offload. The reason why I'm going to offload is because I got to channel a little bit more strength to keep myself within good posture. So believe it or not, using 2 dumbbells actually stabilizes me a whole lot more, even though they're not connected, because I'm gripping this dumbbell and it sends tension, strain through my body, and I'm able to stabilize a little better. When I have 1 dumbbell, things can get a little sloppy. I can get down and wobble around because I have this weight pulling me down. So I got to use my other side to counterbalance me to keep me stable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to step back, drop down. I like to have my athletes pause while they're learning and then step forward. So this offsetting weight is going to pull me around. I got to stabilize so it doesn't pull me down. I mean, you can do it even harder by stepping back and keeping it overhead. That's just another component of it. So for lunges, that's an option. Now, what I don't see really at all is too many athletes doing upper body unilateral offsetting loading exercises. So when we're doing a dumbbell chest press, with 2 dumbbells, yes, I have both dumbbells in my hand, and yeah, they're kind of working independently, but again, like we talked about, when I grip both dumbbells, that tension is moving throughout my body as if to stabilize me, as if I'm holding a barbell. It's not exactly the same. I got to use a little bit more stability muscles, but I can pretty much keep them together. And the middle of my body, my core, is pretty stable. What I like to do is, again, when an athlete gets a little bit more proficient, is load this one-sided. So I'm going to have my other arm free. It could be down, it could be up, but now I have 1 dumbbell, and then I have this whole side that's relatively loose. And what I got to do is, if they do it wrong, they're going to come down here and it's going to start to pull them to the side. So I have to really counterbalance, lock my butt, tighten my core, and control down and squeeze up. So this keeps me really stable, keeps me very focused, and I'm engaging more muscles. The other nice thing about this is you are really going to see the discrepancy between sides. So one side might flow really well, the other side might be night and day, might pull you off the side, you might not even have the strength to control it down. So if you incorporate these within your big movements like your bench press, and then you supplement that with these kind of exercises, you're going to get a whole lot stronger, you're going to get your core stronger, and stabilize your muscles a lot stronger. Just one more upper body exercise that I'll show you is with the row. Now dumbbell rows are pretty common, but again, you don't get a whole lot of eccentric movement because it's just kind of pulling down. You don't get that spring-like effect. Where this one, we can really control the eccentric because we're controlling our whole body weight. And again, we got to incorporate the core a little more. Most dumbbell rows, your body is, on a bench and supported. With a single body row, it's not. So again, I'll show you the double version. Pretty straightforward. Just a body row. You want to move all the way through the range of motion. Now we're going to do the single version. And I'm going to hold here. I like to cross my arm because you don't want this wind sailing effect and pulling you up. Obviously, it's not great on the shoulder. So I'm going to be here. I like to cross to keep my body straight, control down, and squeeze up. So I just can't flop right down. I'm going to be all over the place. So I really have to control eccentrically down and see if I can squeeze my shoulder up. I'm making sure this isn't moving around and I'm not like moving it down to get my body up. I really want to use my shoulder blade. So controlling down and squeezing up. And again, one side of my body might not be as strong, so I'm going to work that a lot to balance out the sides. So when I go back and play my sport, I'm going to be a little bit more balanced, a little bit less injury prone, and hopefully a better athlete along the way. So those are the three most common mistakes I see athletes make in their training program. Give these a shot, see how you do, and thanks for watching.